Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
Okay, so we got the weekly recap. We're going to start with that first game, which was the AFC West versus the Miami Dolphins doctor. Just like Pat, he decided to play Tua Tagovailoa, whatever his last name is. Tua shouldn't have been playing. And on top of that, he got a concussion again, and he might not even play for the rest of the season. So, Pat, you're just like the doctor, and unfortunately, it bit you in the butt. And on top of that, you didn't play CEH. Alexander deserved to win. And he did so mightily. Next up is the Corn Kid. And that's right, he's got the juice. That's right. While it wasn't that high scoring of a game, Corn Kid got the dub, and Sammy's squad took another L. Next up, we got Colin and going up against Hertz, losing, don't it? Hint, hint. I think you can tell who won, which was Prestige Worldwide. Honestly, great team. He is one injury away from having a possible meltdown, but at the same time, great team. Next up, it's the battle of the older brother versus the younger brother, and as a tale as old as time, older brother wins yet again. And on top of that, Javonte Williams got hurt, so reckon that's one of your three guys that you wouldn't trade. So. I hate to say it, but I mean, you had offers out there, and I mean, I'm sure people wanted it. And then, last but not least, me versus Steve. Unfortunately, Matt Gay wasn't able to reel off 50 points for Steve to get that W against me, so I got that dub, and now I'm 500 in my division.
Alrighty, welcome into the week 5, almost 13 Colin podcast. I'm your host, Colin Sears, joined as always by Mr. Vinny and Patrick.
Not as always. I have been missing the last couple of weeks, so you can't.
That's true.
Always here.
We noticed. After the pod, we'll talk about your vacation policy. But
yeah, was that a Bucky's cup that I saw?
Heck yeah, it was.
Dude,
shout out to Bucky's.
Bucky's rocks.
Yeah, so I guess we can't say as always for you, but you know,
I try my best.
Pat is pretty reliable. So
I try my best.
I know you do, and we love you for it. So, alrighty, guys, we're going to do a little bit different segment this week. We're going to go over the league standings. I think it's really important to know where everybody's at in the league. Just do a little bit of posturing, maybe call out some folks that are falling behind. So, we're going to start with Division Mitch. And remember, all of these division guys chose their own destiny with who they wanted. So, if they don't like it, blame themselves. So, in Division Mitch, which I think is probably the strongest division in the league, we have a 3-way tie atop the standings between myself, Pat, and Mitch. Unfortunately, Zach, rest in peace, isn't looking so hot. But now that I said that, he's probably going to beat me this week. Anyways, I think going forward, you know, all three of the teams that are leading our division have a good shot at the playoffs. What do you guys think?
I mean, you're all 70% or higher currently right now. So I'd say you have a pretty solid chance of making the playoffs right now. Starting 3-1 first 4 weeks. Can't ask for a better start, that's for sure.
It's anyone's division right now.
Yeah,
it is. And I will say the team I'm a little bit more concerned about is probably my own, just because we made the deal for DeAndre Swift, brought him over to Prestige Worldwide. The guy's been hurt. In order to be effective, you got to be available. And so far, he hasn't been that. So we'll see how that plays out.
But I mean, you still scored the most out of the league without him.
We do score.
Contributing.
We do score. Hopefully that continues. And Division Creighton, I'm not sure what's going on here because Creighton isn't even winning Division Creighton. And that's kind of a shame considering his track record. But Alexander's been coming out throwing some punches, sitting at 3-1.
Big punches.
Dude, Alexander's got a stacked team.
Yeah, taking out some heavy hitters.
And Najee isn't even playing well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he has Pat Mahomes, and we saw what he did on Sunday.
And the 49ers defense. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, holy
To be fair,
smokes.
Matt Stafford only throws to Cooper Kupp. And so you saw him jump a couple of those passes, and it's not even fair. I mean,
he doesn't even look Allen Robinson's way.
No, Allen Robinson is basically dead out there. Doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he did to Matt Stafford, but clearly there's no rapport there. And then second place in that division, you got Apollo Creed and John, the King, sitting at 2-2 apiece. I think out of these two teams, Creighton obviously sitting a little bit better than John. Creighton is stacked top to bottom. If you add up the dollars for the players on his team, it is approximately $300 in the starting lineup. Draft day dollars, that is. So
Golly.
take that for what you want. But he at least has 5 first and second round draft picks in his starting lineup. I think he's probably not going to lose many the rest of the season, if you ask me.
I mean, honestly, yeah, he has a great team, but I mean, a couple of those guys, they have injury situations going on right now. So some weeks he might have all of them play. Some weeks he might only have 2 of those really big guys play. It just depends, but I mean, he put all his marbles in that basket. So kudos to him. He's got a good team.
Here's my thing. I feel like we need to stop looking at Creighton like Tom Brady and saying, oh, he's done. Oh, his players don't hit their projections, this or that, or whatever. You just need to assume that Creighton's lethal at all times because he's fantastic at fantasy football. Yeah. So until I see him lose or drop off, I'm not buying into any of it. So kudos to you, Creighton, for making moves. Steve?
Russell Wilson definitely could possibly cause him some stress just because he's not performing well at all this year.
I think he gets back on track. I think last game was a huge step forward for him.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they lose though? I mean, Denver should be a lot better.
But he also scored 3 times and actually had a connection with Sutton and Judy. So something to watch for. But yeah, back to Steve. What the hell, bro?
Yeah.
Came out guns a-blazing in the draft. It appeared he had a strategy for the first time ever.
Dude won the first week and then three losses in a row.
He came out in game of the week and just demolished his opponent. So I'm thinking, maybe we should make Steve game of the week every week. Give him some good juju.
The thing is, Steve's team can still be very lethal. It's just Alvin Kamara has not played. I mean, and when he does play, Jameis Winston does not check down ever. That is where Alvin thrives.
YOLO bombs all day in New Orleans. So. Yeah.
Steve, I think his team's fine. Bryce Hall, or was it Bryce Hall? I think he's starting to really take over the lead back role there in New York. And T. Higgins, I remember specifically saying I thought he was going to be the number 1 wide receiver in Cincinnati this year, and that's no shot at Jamar Chase. But I always thought he was the better wide receiver. It's just Jamar, got more of the looks.
Jamar's boomer bust.
Yeah, and he has Josh Allen, which could pop off for 60 some weeks.
Yeah.
So Steve's always lethal. It's just he's lost 3 in a row, unfortunately.
I think Steve has really gotten the worst luck so far this year from his team. Like, you look at his team and he has a playoff team. Like, I don't think anyone here is going to argue that. So I think he just had a lot of bad luck. So if I'm Steve, I would not press the panic button just yet.
Bro, he already pressed
just let it develop a little bit, and he may have a good second half push.
I think he pressed the panic button when he traded Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, but at the same time, he got T. Higgins. Yep. T. Higgins is still a great wide receiver who Joe Burrow is looking his way a lot.
Yeah.
And Tony Pollard is either hit or miss. It's either Zeke one week and then Pollard the next.
Yeah. I don't know. I just love Jefferson. The dude
he's a great player, but I mean, I think Steve needed to make a move, and I think
Do you want one great player or 2 really good, solid players?
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
we'll see how it plays out. And so, last and least, the weakest division, I think, in my opinion, that we have.
This got voted the highest, like the strongest division at the beginning of the year too, which is wild.
Interesting. Yeah. So we have Andy's division, which everybody thought Andy was crazy taking the best fantasy players we had. But Andy thinks his division is going on golf score, unlike the rest of the league. And he's sitting at the bottom at 1-3. Hey, congrats on a big win last week, Andy.
Huge win.
Yeah.
Proud of you. Keep it up. Keep harvesting that corn. It's going to pay off.
It's got lots of juice.
It's got the juice, man.
It's got the juice.
So you're not alone though, Andy. Pierce, in kind of surprising fashion, is also sitting there at 1-3. But to be fair, he did put up a massive amount of points last week. Just happened to be the wrong matchup, and that happens sometimes in fantasy. Yeah, it was a fantastic matchup, fun to watch. And then Clay and Brecken are tied for first place at 2-2. Originally, I thought Brecken had a huge advantage here. I still think he does have the edge, but not quite so much.
I play him next week. Thing that I'm okay with is that I'm going against Lamar Jackson, and his number one guy is on my team. So if he connects just touchdowns with my guy, I'm okay with that because it's offsetting.
Yeah, dude, you lucked out as far as that one goes. Yeah. So as far as injury updates, we'll move on here. Pat, what you got?
All right, so biggest one I got on my list is Cordarrelle Patterson, placed on the IR for the knee injury. That's gonna hurt Pierce because Cordarrelle had a huge week, and Pierce thought that he was going to be coming back in this league, and now he's out. So
if he wasn't injured, that was such a great trade for Pierce.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly.
So really interested to see how Pierce is going to react to that. Next one, which I think is going to spark a lot of debate, or maybe not really a lot of debate, but a lot of heat, is Tua officially out for week 5.
And both you and Miami played him. Ugh,
yeah,
tough scene.
Rough scene.
I think that he needs to be ruled out for at least 6 games.
I'm surprised they haven't put him on the the IR?
IR. Yeah, I mean, it's not worth screwing with the guys. Neurological health.
No,
I don't care how football is not important when it comes to player safety, player health.
Correct.
If the Dolphins aren't gonna stand up for their player, then I don't think anybody will. I mean, the guys are football players. They want to play football. It's up to the medical staff and the coaching staff to protect them from themselves. So,
correct. And I think shame on the consultant that cleared.
Oh yeah.
That cleared him to play because clearly they did a terrible job, right? And correct, Clay. They did get fired.
Rightfully so.
It's just I heard though that it's not so much for the misdiagnosis, but more of the attitude towards the investigation.
Interesting.
So that very interesting from all around. Tua, I'm glad that you're feeling better. Or you're not. Destroyed, and there's a potential for you coming back. Could have been very, very bad. So very happy to hear that from Tua, and glad that he's doing okay. The last injury update that I have is Javonte Williams out, and he's not just Javonte Williams being out, but Melvin Gordon being questionable for Thursday.
I mean, Javonte, he's out for the season. Like that's.
He's done rings for this season. He's out.
Yeah, I think it cuts into next year a little bit too. It's a posterolateral corner injury. That's telling me it's a lateral meniscus, LCL. I think was it ACL, PCL combined?
Yeah, ACL and LCL.
Yep. So he's got a lot of ligamentous damage in there. It's going to take a lot to surgically repair it, and it's going to take a long time to rehab it. So I don't think we see him at full health.
Next year,
until midpoint next year, kind of like
I was thinking the same.
If then, so tough break for a really talented player, that's for sure.
Yeah, and really tough for the Broncos.
Yeah, if I'm the Broncos, who are some free agent running backs that are out there?
That's a fantastic transition there, Clay. I'm glad that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I think top waiver wire players to add this week have to be Mike Boone. The guy he's even seen playing time before the Javonte Williams injury. Obviously, a little bit lesser known player, lesser commodity than Melvin Gordon, but Melvin Gordon can't help himself this year. He just loves putting the ball on the ground.
League leading.
Yep, league leading and fumbles.
And he's in a dual backfield. He's not even the guy.
Yeah, so he's splitting carries. And I think he's fumbled on 5 of his last 34 carries, if I remember correctly. So, Andy, very much thank you for that acquisition and the trade. He's really paying off for me right now.
Yeah. I'm curious if Denver reaches out to a couple places that has those dual backfields.
That wouldn't shock me.
Like Kareem Hunt, they could reach out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope they do. Like, I mean, as a Kareem Hunt fantasy owner, right? Like, he's obviously
Yeah, but
not
at the same
producing
time,
for
I
me,
think that's a
but
perfect.
Yes, exactly what you're going to say. I think that is this is the perfect time for Kareem Hunt to get out of Cleveland, go to the Broncos where you're going to be that starter. Like let's be
And
honest
it's Russell
here.
Wilson.
Kareem Hunt's
That's
way
a check
better than
down.
Melvin Gordon.
Oh yeah, and Kareem Hunt's also phenomenal in the passing game, and Russell
Yes.
Wilson loves checkdowns.
Yes, he absolutely does. If Kareem Hunt goes to the Broncos, I could potentially see not so much of a Kansas City Chief offense, but very close to it.
Definitely makes him a little bit more lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like just free agents that are in the NFL that are running backs that the Denver can reach out if they aren't able to make a trade proposition for Kareem. I can't really think of any, but
Lev Bell, baby. Who was the guy the Ravens brought back last year besides Bell? Not Latavius Murray. Who was the other one? Devontae Freeman. Bring Devontae Freeman back, baby.
Yeah, you could also try and get Marlon Mack. I mean, Mack was a good running back before Jonathan Taylor took his place.
Yep.
So speaking of Jonathan Taylor, how long is it until the Colts come up with a plan B? Because I feel like Jonathan Taylor, for as much hype as he's gotten this year, is just not producing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think you got to stick with it. And if you're a fantasy owner of Jonathan Taylor, Mitch, dude, you got to start him. It sucks, but you have to. You pay too much to sit on your bench, and you can't afford to miss the week that he pops.
Yeah,
so,
but he's also possibly out this week.
Yep. So we'll see how the
very possible
treats him. Keep it, under wraps. Monitor that. Do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Our next waiver wire target is Rachaad White, and I actually loved what I saw from him in the game against the Chiefs. I think he was very minimal usage the first 3 weeks, just from being a rookie, and you got to earn Tom's trust to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw him get just as many snaps almost as Leonard Fournette, and he equaled him in carries and had way more pass catching involvement than he did. And so I think you could see this turn into a little bit more of a split backfield as far as Leonard Fournette handles a lot of the rushing duties.
Mm-hmm.
Rachaad White handles a lot of the receiving work. And go ahead.
No, you go.
With Leonard Fournette's, he was nursing a hamstring injury, I believe it was last week or the week before. So if something happens to him, I feel like Rachaad White's a really, really good stash and play.
Yeah, I think it also depends on matchups. Like this last week, the Bucs, you knew that Chiefs, it was going to be more of a gunslinging type of a matchup because the Chiefs got ahead fast.
Yeah.
And so Tom Brady, they had to pass the ball around, and Leonard Fournette really isn't that pass catching back. Rachaad White, I think that's why he was on the field more, was specifically because of that.
Yep.
But I mean, Leonard, I think he did catch a touchdown if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did. But I think you'll see both of them out there a lot more going forward.
Yeah.
A third one on the list also relates to another running back injury with Cordero Patterson going down. I believe somebody has Tyler Algier. I'm not sure who
Steve
it is.
does.
Steve does. That was a good staff.
Already looked into it.
Yep. I figured most people had. So Tyler Algier is not available, but Caleb Huntley is, who was I believe it was a 5th round pick this year. So not quite the draft capital as Algier. And I think Algier will get the first crack at it, but I could see him splitting time with Caleb Huntley. So the Falcons find out what they have in both. And they actually did get, I believe it was equal amount of carries last game too, when Patterson went down. So worth putting on your bench, seeing what happens with that Falcons backfield. Might not be a running back 1 or 2 or anything like that, but could be a potential flex player come by weeks. And then my last waiver wire mentions are a combination of Josh Reynolds and DJ Chark. That Lions offense, I can't believe I'm saying this.
It's solid,
but they're solid.
Really good.
It's really solid. Their defense causes their offense to have to perform.
Yep. And I can't believe this, but Jared Goff is playing like he has a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, no
He's
kidding.
slinging that sucker, and their passing offense is potent. So, as long as Amon-Ra is out, DJ Chark's questionable right now, but when he comes back, I would imagine if Amon-Ra stays out, he's probably their number 1. Reynolds was the de facto number one last week and put up huge numbers. So I don't think you can go wrong plugging in the Lions receivers. So keep an eye on that. Unfortunately, none of y'all can pick up Jameson Williams, but he's also practicing or getting ready to return to practice.
Yeah.
So no trades this week. So we'll move on to our pick'ems for the week. And just an update. So in the NFL last week, your all-knowing commissioner was 3-0 with picks. Clay
Ooh.
was 1-2. Pat was 2-1.
I remember having to send my text. I was like, yes, because I was so busy at that moment.
Well, good news is you're only one spot behind me on this season, so you can definitely overtake that.
Yeah, suck it.
As far as league picks go, we have had nobody eclipse the 500 mark yet. Steve was 3-3 last week. Game of the week pick.
Creighton was 2-4.
Creighton, that's like the one thing he gets last at.
Yeah.
Game of the week picks. I've yet to miss one. 4-0. Clay and Pat both sitting at 2-2. So we'll see how it shakes out this week. Our Thursday night matchup features the Colts at the Broncos. Again, a lot is up in the air with this matchup for the running back position on both sides. So the Broncos are favored at opening line by 3.5 points. I am going to pick the Broncos in this one. I think their offense showed signs of life last week. I think Russ is developing that connection with his two receivers, and I think that they're going to pick up right where they left off, even despite the Javonte Williams loss. Only question is, will Melvin Gordon put the ball on the ground one or two times and lose them possessions? So,
yeah, I also and this is in I'm in the same camp as Team Broncos for this matchup. While I don't think the Colts are a bad team, Jonathan Taylor might be nicked up a little bit. And so then it comes down to which team has the better defense. I think I'm going to lean more towards the Broncos. Which team has the better quarterback? I'm going to lean towards the Broncos.
Randy Gregory is also out. Should be.
Oh, he is? He's out for the season?
No,
Well,
for this game.
game he is.
Okay. At Broncos, Mile High Stadium, I think I'm going to go Denver.
I see you have different thoughts, Pat.
I do have different thoughts. I'm going with the Colts on this one. Randy Gregory is a big loss for the Broncos defense. Shout out to Nebraska. I also think this game is also going to go down to if Jonathan Taylor plays or not. I think if Jonathan Taylor plays, it's probably going to be the Colts. If Jonathan Taylor doesn't play, it's going to be the Broncos. I'm betting on the fact that Jonathan Taylor is going to play. So I'm going with the Colts.
All righty. Our Sunday matchup is the Sunday night game, actually. Bengals at the Ravens. And this one's fairly close. The Ravens are favored by 3 at home. I'm going to take the Bengals. Again, I think last week was a get-right week for a lot of teams who expected to be pretty good this year, and that included the Bengals against the Dolphins. Now, here's the kicker. I think the Ravens' defense is trash. They are absolutely awful. They have blown ginormous leads in each of the last 2-3 weeks. And I don't think the Bengals are a slouch on offense outside their offensive line. So I think the receivers and Burrow light it up this week.
And you just said the key point right there, Colin. They have a great offense, but they have a very, very, very bad offensive line. And I think because of how bad their offensive line is, I think the Ravens are going to win this game.
Yeah, I think Ravens have a better front seven that's going to really get to Burrow. You see when Burrow gets pressured, Bengals offense ain't that great. And on top of that, I think Lamar's going to be playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Both him and Mark Andrews, they did not have good weeks last weekend. Granted, they were playing probably quite possibly one of the best teams in the league, especially defensively. I think the Ravens get back on track, and it's at home for them.
Yep. This could be a get-right pick for you guys going against me here. And Monday night, we have the Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm excited for this one just because I hate the Raiders. But the Chiefs,
I hope it's not a blowout because I want it to be a close game. So like the Raiders actually run the ball. But
right. And I'm not trying to put the Chiefs on this, but this is Monday night game. Chiefs favored by 7.5. I got the Chiefs. I don't know what else to tell you. I think on Sunday night this week, the Chiefs looked like a Super Bowl team on offense. I mean, and I hadn't seen that yet this year. Cardinals game, they were amazing, but I think, against a really top tier defense in the Buccaneers, they looked incredible.
They did. I'm also Chiefs.
Okay.
I am also Chiefs, but I want this to be closer than a 7.5 point spread. So Derek
I want
Carr
it to be a
and
high
Josh.
scoring game.
Yeah. If Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs can get 30 points out of this, I think Clay and I will be very happy.
Hey, Derek Carr throws for 3 passing touchdowns, all to Josh Jacobs.
Love it.
There we go. Win-win. Air shake.
That's your bold prediction for the day.
Yeah.
And on that crazy wild note, we're going to move on to our league matchups.
Oh no, the Pat.
So I'm gonna be our guest picker this week. I'm gonna take my turn, throw my hat in the ring. We'll see what happens. So, first matchup is Sammy Squad at 1-3 versus myself 3-1. Not much to say here. I think Steve's was a good trade. I'm not so certain on Zach's at this point in time. I think Debo and Mixon, although Mixon is not produced, he still gets the ball too much, and Debo is too lethal, and he's going to break out. So he's really missing those on his team. I'm going to go with myself. I think we get it done this week. And I said, I think for a good playoff spot, I need to at least win. Stay above 500 in the games I don't have DeAndre Swift. So I think we get that done this week. Game 2 is Apollo Creed versus Kittlecorn. And I really, really wish I could take Kittlecorn here, but I can't. Creighton's team is just too much for him. He's got, top end talent, top to bottom of his roster. Way too much for Steve to handle. Apollo Creed's winning this one by a lot. Third matchup is the King, John, versus AFC West. So John, a chance to tie Alexander for first place in their division if he pulls the upset this week, but that's not going to happen. AFC West is pretty loaded, and I think it helps him out that the Raiders are playing the Chiefs. So I think Devontae Adams has his best game of the year and really carries them to a victory because the Raiders are going to have to score. They're going to have to put the ball in the air early and often, and that benefits Adams. Fourth matchup is Corn Kid versus Hertz Donut. Pierce, I apologize for last week, but it was fun watching the the Lions and Seahawks. Man, that was a shootout. Mm-hmm. That was one of the most fun fantasy matches.
Geno Smith have a nice little redemption season.
He's balling out, man. Good for him.
I would have possibly added him on my waiver wire ad if he needed a quarterback.
It's crazy what happens when you're a quarterback not playing for the Jets.
Right?
It's crazy.
Right. Yeah. So I think Hertz Donut gets back on track this week. I don't think there's many weeks where he score 150 points and lose, but he's going to put up big numbers again this week. I'm sorry, Andy. I got to pick against you. Hertz Donut wins by at least 20. Next matchup is Zeke and Destroy versus Creed's Worm Guys. And this is the matchup of the 2-2s. So this is the top dog game in Division Andy. So whoever wins this game will have sole possession over the number 1 spot, and they control their own destiny the rest of the season. Big matchup. Brecken had a big loss with Javonte Williams, so he's gonna have to replace that flex position. But I think he gets it done. I love Clay's team this week too, but I think Lamar Jackson comes out, has a great game against the Bengals.
Throws a lot of touchdowns to my tight end.
That's true. If he throws to Mark Andrews, this pick could burn me.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to change my mind. I'm going to stick with Creed's Worm Guys here. I'm sorry, Clay.
Pain.
It's just because you missed the last 2 podcasts. That's why.
Yeah. Okay.
I just don't think that Josh Jacobs gets 40 points again, probably in his career, actually.
I don't know about that.
Watch him go for 50. The Las Vegas Raiders know the key to win now, and that's feed Josh Jacobs.
Hey, they can try it. Run against Chris Jones all day.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then the game of the week, and we're going to dub this, at least for this year, just for this year, we're called the Pat Bowl. Pat versus own mustache.
I love it.
Who's gonna win?
I love it.
Pat and his razor or his mustache? Which is stronger? We shall find out.
I got Pat. This is worse than Rutgers week. I love this matchup, and I think Pat gets it done. I don't think it's close.
What's your reasoning? I want to hear it.
My reasoning. Well, one, Jonathan Taylor might not be at full health. If he does play, he's still not at full health.
Yep.
Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr gets way over his projected numbers. I think it's going to be more of a shootout. Not saying that the Chiefs are bad, but I think it's just going to be a high scoring game. Nick Chubb is quite possibly the best running back in the league right now, fantasy point wise. Cooper Kupp, again, Cooper Kupp. Zach Ertz might struggle a little bit.
Matthew Stafford doesn't see anybody besides Cooper Kupp.
That's very true.
That's why Cooper Kupp gets 16 points going up against probably the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I like Christian Kirk. I like Christian Kirk this week against Houston. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to fumble the ball 3+ times this week. So I think that won't kill drives. And on top of that, Jeff Wilson against Carolina, he's going to get those guaranteed points right there. But at the same time, he's playing Carolina's defense. So every time Jeff Wilson scores, Carolina loses points. So it seems a little contradictory. I'm sure there's a way better defense that's on the waiver right now that he can go get because they're playing the Jets this weekend. But I'm not gonna say any names. No free shout outs.
Just outbid him on the waivers just for kicks and giggles, Clay.
Yeah, he's probably like Clay. He's like, Clay, shut up. I'll see the other. I got like $20 on them already.
Right. I love it. Oh man. So I initially had Mitch marked this morning when I made up the doc. And then I started digging into Jonathan Taylor tonight, while I was prepping for this segment. And I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to be half speed, if that. And I think that's a huge loss for Mitch. So I think Rutgers, worse than Rutgers, gets their 4th win and becomes almost as good as Rutgers rather than worse than Rutgers. So, Pat, I'm taking you this week. If you let me down.
Dude, you're going to be 1 win from 5.
I know.
After this.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Tiny violin if you let me down. Pat, you taking yourself?
Oh, you better believe I'm taking myself.
Yeah, you better.
The original Patrick's mustache is killing it this week. Let's go, boys.
All right.
We're riding the Pat, not the stash.
Mitch is the severely discredited player this week. I apologize. If you come out and win, you would shut us all up on the podcast. I know we've ruffled your feathers before on the pod.
I'm not saying Mitch's team is bad. I just think Pat has better matchups this weekend, so Pat's going to get the win.
Yep, I agree.
He's not playing Tua, so that's first step to not winning. That's
Yep.
First
step to success. Not play Tua.
Don't. Well, Pierce's adage with whole Tua thing years ago is don't draft Tua. Now it's don't play Tua.
Just avoid Tua in this situation. So
yeah.
One could say it's kind of a headache. Too soon.
That's
yeah.
You know what? No, I'll give that to you. I'll give that to you. That was pretty funny.
Dun.
Yeah.
All righty, boys. Any last words before we call tonight?
No, sir.
No.
Let's get those dubs, boys. All 3 of us are winning.
Yep, all 3 of us are winning. Last week was me trying to get greedy and get funny with it. Did not work out. That's why I'm not 4-0. That's a mistake that I'm going to take to the rest of the season.
Ran into the beast
but
of
I still have
Alexander.
I still have a better record than Creighton, and that's all I care about.
Hey, that's all that matters. So you can still talk.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gets a better record than you, then you might have to be a little quiet.
Right. Then we'll discuss. Maybe I'll shut up a little bit then. But until then, it ain't happening.
Ride the wave. Ride the wave. Yeah. Just ride it out into the sunset.
On that note, let's all 3 of us ride into the sunset. It's good chatting with you, boys.
Yeah, likewise.
Cheers.
Have a fantastic evening, boys.
Yep, likewise. Later, y'all.